Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again and welcome to any new viewers. This is To The Point English with Ben. I'm Ben, and in this video I'm going to explain how and when to use the relative pronouns which and that. Now, the reason that I wanted to make this short extra video now is because I recently made a couple of videos, one on how to improve your writing, so 5 tips on how to improve your writing, and the other on how to use commas in your writing. And in both of those videos I used examples with the relative pronouns which and that. And a couple of people asked me in the comments in YouTube to explain when we use which and when we use that. So basically we use which or that for defining relative clauses, and just which but not that for non-defining relative clauses. Okay, that's it. See you in the next video. Okay, maybe we need to explain a little bit more, because maybe you don't know what a relative clause is, right? Or maybe you don't even know what a clause is. So let's start from basics. A clause is any group of words which contains a subject and a verb. Now, a relative clause gives additional information about the person or thing previously mentioned in the sentence. So it's relative to something else that has been mentioned. It can't be used on its own. Now, a defining relative clause contains essential information that the sentence needs. The sentence wouldn't make sense or wouldn't have the same meaning without that information. A non-defining relative clause contains non-essential information. So it's information that can be taken out of the sentence, but the sentence would still make sense. Okay, so with all that horrible terminology and grammar out the way, let's look at some examples, because that's really how you're going to understand this. So my first examples are of defining relative clauses. This is the book that I bought in London. So this is the book that I bought in London. So this is a defining relative clause. You need that clause. This is the book is not enough. You need more. So this is the book that I bought in London. Or, as I said, you can use which. This is the book which I bought in London. Exactly the same meaning. Because in this case, we're referring to a thing, an object, a book. But if you want to refer to a person, you cannot use which. You can use that. Or who, of course. That's a different relative pronoun, but that's not what we're looking at in this video. You can use that or who when you're referring to a person. So you can say, that's the boy that stole my apple. That's the boy that stole my apple. Or that's the boy who stole my apple, of course. So again, these relative clauses here are defining relative clauses. They are essential for the meaning of the sentence. But let's look at non-defining relative clauses now. And remember, in these clauses, you cannot use that. It's impossible. You must use which or other relative pronouns like who, whom, whose, where, or when. So again, the best way to understand is to look at an example. So this is an example of a non-defining relative clause with which, not that, remember. So the book which I bought in London is extremely dull. So the book which I bought in London is extremely dull. So in this case, the relative clause contains non-essential information. It can be taken out of the sentence and the sentence will still make sense. So you could just say, this book is extremely dull. That's a perfectly good, complete sentence. But you want to add some extra non-essential information. You need to use, in this case, which, not that. As I said, you do have other relative pronouns you can use, but in this video, we're just looking at which and that. Okay, so one more example. This bonsai tree, which is a Chinese elm, needs pruning. Okay, so this bonsai tree, which is a Chinese elm, needs pruning. Pruning, or to prune, by the way, means to cut the branches or leaves of a plant, to shape it, basically, which is necessary. It's like to trim. When you trim your hair, it's the same idea, it's to cut, so to prune. So the sentence there is really, this bonsai tree needs pruning. But the extra information is that it's a Chinese elm. So this bonsai tree, which is a Chinese elm, needs pruning. But not this bonsai tree that is a Chinese elm needs pruning. That doesn't work. Okay, so quite a quick and simple explanation, but that's really all you need to know when we're looking at the relative pronouns which and that. Okay, I'll see you very soon for another video. Bye.